And welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 48 of The Loud House, Mall of Duty. We begin this segment with Lincoln watching the exploits of Rip Hardcore, an expert on wilderness survival, on TV. We first saw Lincoln watching this show in the season 1 segment Roughing It. And while he's watching the Rip Hardcore's show, we see that Lynn Sr. has to take Lynn to a rugby match, while Rita has to take the 4 oldest Loud sisters to school open house. So that means both the parents are leaving Lincoln in charge of watching over the 5 youngest Loud sisters. After the Loud parents and the 5 oldest Loud sisters leave, the episode of Rip Hardcore's show ends, and there's an announcement saying that Rip Hardcore will be visiting various malls throughout the United States to sign copies of his book for any fans that come to see him. And the most recent mall that Rip Hardcore is at is the Royal Woods Mall. And Lincoln, of course, would like to get an autograph of Rip. Yeah, he would like to get Rip Hardcore's autograph on the book, the copy of Rip Hardcore's book that he has. So he decides to take his youngest sisters with him to the mall so he can still watch over them, but still acquire the autograph. So later on, we're at the Royal Woods Mall, and they're all waiting in line to see Rip Hardcore. But the 5 youngest Loud sisters are growing impatient, and they're bored out of their mind. Lincoln tries to come up with various ways to keep them entertained, but they're not impressed. And in the case when he tries to do yo-yo tricks, Lincoln accidentally hits the person behind them in line, a big burly guy who's not too happy about this. But hoping to keep his sisters from getting too bored or to keep them from leaving the line, Lincoln sees that nearby Flip is selling his famous Flippies. So he manages to get one for each of his sisters. He also gets one for the burly man behind him as an apology for accidentally hitting him with his yo-yo. Unfortunately, though, while Lincoln thinks that he gave the burly man a lemon-flavored Flippy, he actually gave him a banana-flavored Flippy by accident. And that's bad because the burly man has an allergy. Yeah, he has a banana allergy, so he gets hives all over his face from drinking it. And later on, not too long after, the youngest Loud sisters are shown needing to use the restroom. Lincoln questions if the burly man would be willing to hold their place in line for them, and he claims he will, but by the time Lincoln and the sisters return, the burly man claims that he's never seen them before in his life, but claiming that his eyes have gotten really bad from the hives, revealing that he lied to Lincoln out of petty spite for Lincoln accidentally giving him hives for the allergy. So Lincoln and his sisters are forced to the back of the line, and Scoots happens to be right in front of them, but after hearing a patron a mall goer who just got their autograph from Rip Hardcore, the mall goer says that it was worth the 2-hour wait, and Scoots says that even though she's a fan of Rip Hardcore, she's not willing to wait 2 hours, so she decides to get out of line to do something else instead. And trying to keep his sisters occupied, Lincoln sees a train ride not too far off, so he ends up putting them all on the train, and he feeds the machine several quarters so it'll keep going around and around while he's waiting in line. And we see a montage implying a lot of time has passed by, but eventually Lincoln does manage to get his autograph from Rip Hardcore. he's too nervous to actually talk to Rip or anything like that, but Rip is very friendly about it. And Lincoln is happy that he got his autograph, so now they can do whatever else they want to do. But he sees that the train actually isn't on the rails. Yeah, because the rails are in a circle. It's not on there anymore, and the train has gone off somewhere else in the mall. So Lincoln's wondering how he's going to find his 5 youngest sisters. But then he remembers the 4 Ds that Rip Hardcore spoke of, so when it comes to tracking. So he puts those 4 Ds to great use. First, he uses droppings and finds the droppings of chemicals that Lisa is known to use. And he finds that Lisa had combined various appliances into a robot. Next up is disturbances, where he sees a disturbance with the way one of the mannequins was arranged. So that's how they find Lucy. Next is dens, and they find Lola in a place in the mall called the Princess Palace. And then for the 4th D, diet, they find some dog food that's been chewed on, but Lana likes dog food as well. And they do find that Lana was hatching baby ducks. But that still leaves Lily unaccounted for, and it turns out Lily is still on the train, which is going all over the place in the mall. And Lincoln has to try and get Lily off of the train so she can be safe. While he's chasing after the train, he happens to run across Scoots, and Lincoln requests it, or he hopes that Scoots will help drive him to the train on, well, her scooter. But Scoots doesn't want to help because she thinks it's not her problem. But remembering that Scoots was a Rip Hardcore fan, Lincoln actually offers his autograph of Rip Hardcore on his book to Scoots in exchange for help, and Scoots agrees to help Lincoln out. So while they're chasing after the train, we do get a few moments where the burly man almost gets hit by the train, I believe twice. And eventually Lincoln is able to rescue Lily. And after that's over, what happens to the train? It ends up ramming into Flip's flippy cart, and it hits a little pool. And that's right. When they found Lucy was telling a fortune to Flip, similar to Come Sail Away, where she said that Flip's business will make a big splash. So, yes, quite literally, Flip's business made a big splash when he fell into the pool with his flippy cart. So Lincoln and the youngest Loud sisters are all together again, and Lincoln does apologize for the trouble he put them through, but they forgive him, and they also notice that he doesn't have his autograph anymore. And Lincoln admits that he traded it to Scoots for her help, and saying that while the autograph was important to him, the safety of his youngest sisters is even more important. So they all go back home. Later on, the Loud parents and the 5 oldest Loud sisters return home, but there's a surprise. It turns out that after they finished their commitments, they all stopped by the mall, presumably after Lincoln and the youngest sisters were there, and they ended up getting Rip Hardcore's autograph on a copy of his book for Lincoln. So Lincoln still ended up getting the autograph after all. But then Lincoln's about to confess that he took the youngest sisters to the mall earlier on and almost put them in danger. But the sisters actually cover for Lincoln. They claim that Lincoln let them jump on the beds after they kept bugging him to do so, but saying that he was overall a good babysitter. And the parents take it pretty well, saying, like, if that's the worst that happened, there's no need to lose any sleep over it. And Lincoln questions why they would do this, and well, they confess that they thought well, they ended up doing it out of the goodness of their heart, and Lana reveals that it was also because he let them keep the baby ducks. And Lincoln's surprised by this, but the segment ends with the baby ducks that Lana hatched are still with them. Now, this segment put a lot of focus on the youngest of the Loud sisters, and we got to see Lincoln in a position of responsibility where he was in charge of the siblings present. We did see that before in the season 1 segment, No Guts, No Glory, but I felt this was a much better executed. Yeah, I thought this was a well executed example of Lincoln being in charge rather than No Guts, No Glory. That wasn't really one of my favorite segments. But I liked this segment more in comparison to that one. And this segment also gave us another appearance from one of the in-universe celebrities. Or that's right, the characters that are celebrities. In this case, it was Rip Hardcore, the wilderness, the expert on wilderness survival. Now, looking back on it, that's right, Rip Hardcore, we did get to see him briefly on TV in Roughing It, so it was cool they brought him back, and we actually got to formally meet him in person this time around. And he does seem like a pretty nice guy, actually. While Lincoln was kind of nervous around him when he actually got to meet him, Rip was pretty chill about it. He was just, okay, I'll sign it. Hey, you have a good day now. It was like, that's a nice touch that we actually have a nice celebrity who sincerely cares about their fans. So I appreciated that. And the other thing I liked about this segment was, for one, it was, that's right, yeah. It's been mentioned before, but one of the parts or elements of the show that many people aren't too fond of is a lot of fans feel that Lincoln tends to draw the short stick or get a raw deal more often than he really deserves. And that's what made this segment stand out in particular, because Lincoln actually didn't really get a raw deal in this segment. He actually succeeded in his goal of obtaining Rip Hardcore's autograph. And this was despite even the setbacks that happened, like that burly guy who refused to save Lincoln's spot in line just to get back at him for accidentally giving him hives. I mean, I can understand being upset about getting your allergies, but Lincoln didn't purposefully try to give the guy allergies. He actually was trying to be a good sport, or he was trying to show his apology to the guy for accidentally hitting him, but it ended up backfiring. Lincoln had no way of knowing the guy had an allergy to bananas until afterwards, and even then, Lincoln thought it was lemon flavor. So the guy did kind of come off as a petty, spiteful jerk, but despite him setting Lincoln back a bit, Lincoln still managed to get the autograph. So the guy didn't succeed in his vengeance towards Lincoln. And I guess you could say him almost getting hit by the train several times was also kind of his punishment for trying to mess Lincoln over. And even when Lincoln sacrificed the autograph to Scoots for her help in saving Lily, he still ended up getting the autograph in the end. But Lincoln also did recognize that his youngest sisters were almost harmed, and he was willing to come clean about it and own up to it. But his youngest sisters actually, they took the fall for him. It was kind of a parallel to Sleuth or Consequences, but unlike what happened to Lincoln in Sleuth or Consequences, where he ended up not being able to go to the convention he wanted to, no one really got a bad deal from when the sisters took the fall for Lincoln, because I guess it helped that it was just something as simple as jumping on the beds, and even then the parents were like, oh, that's nothing to lose sleep over. So it was a way that was heartwarming for the Loud sisters to do that for Lincoln, and they didn't end up being hit on the receiving end of disproportionate retribution in the process. So it worked out for everyone in the end, and I appreciated that. That was a pretty nice touch. And yeah, it was nice to see that Lincoln putting Rip Hardcore's his tips about wilderness survival into action for helping find his youngest sisters. That was a nice way to tie the two parts of the story together. And yeah, it was overall pretty heartwarming segment. I actually did enjoy this a lot. Now, as for whether I enjoyed this one or the A segment more, they really were both good segments, but I guess if I had to pick, I'd give the edge more to this segment, the B segment. But again, it's only by a little bit. I overall enjoyed both the segments. And with that said, we've now discussed both segments of episode 48 on this channel. Take care, and until next time.